So once this is recorded, Lisa, I'll do the conversion so it can play via YouTube, and I can just email you the URL. Is that good?
That sounds great, and then I can email that out.
Okay. So I'll do a quick little introduction. My name is Erica Thiel, and I work with the University of Idaho. I've started out with Idaho 4-H about, I guess I'm in my 11th year. So I started out working in Boundary County, so that's far north Idaho communities, Bonners Ferry, Naples, Moyer Springs. Was a 4-H program coordinator, and then had an opportunity open up at the state office. In the 4 years that I've been here, my job has changed a lot. The previous enrollment system that we had utilized was 4-H Plus, and that's a system that was supported, kind of developed by a gentleman in Wyoming. And as we went on with that, between changes in staffing, and at that time, our ITS department with the University of Idaho kind of took the lead in supporting that. That kind of went away. They did away with those positions. We had some cutbacks. So I kind of took the bull by the horn, so they say, and kind of helped provide some support so at least we could get information out of the system. We started using 4-H Online in 2012. It's been a big, drastic learning curve. This is the first digital type system for Idaho. This learning curve was a little steep, so I completely empathize with you guys. Several of our counties, the time we had rolled that out, we're still doing paper-based enrollment. So that transition, once you guys get through this first year, and as time goes on, you take some confidence and some comfort, if you will, that it does get better. That said, people don't read. And so there's a couple of things we'll kind of touch on. And as you kind of go through, you'll develop a list of questions or kind of some of your first things that you'll be asking. But I'm here to help, and if there's ever any questions, I want you guys to feel comfortable with using the system, and I think we can get through that together and hopefully minimize some of the headaches that you'll have with this. And it's truly, the system is designed to help make your guys' jobs easier, not harder. And I completely understand you have a lot on your plates with what you do. So that being said, there's no such thing as a bad question. And if there's something that you need, just ask, and I'm happy to help. I don't know, is there anything more you wanted to touch on that, Lisa?
I think the open forum would be great because I know that there's some questions and some things that came up through the first week. Okay. And so I was hoping that everyone would write down some trends or some things that they're seeing repetitively so that those questions can be asked, and then maybe through that our 4-H help desk online would be able to curtail to those things.
Okay, and I haven't gotten very far in the creation of that. We'll kind of see a change in that based off of the content that we get out of today's call. And for folks that weren't able to join us, we'll kind of touch on what the Zendesk piece looks like and kind of the method behind the madness on that. So we really didn't have a formalized agenda. I wanted to get your guys' input on how things went. If there were issues, what were those, and be very specific on that. While most of the system looks the same, I still have a little bit of a learning curve on how your state's set up, so it's okay. But if I'll open the floor up for first questions or comments. Any takers?
This is Candy. I have one.
Okay.
So when I was working on, so I have military installations, and I was just kind of testing, well, not really testing, I was going to input a group, an after school program group, and I noticed at the bottom where it said that you could have it open so that people could find it to add names to the group. So I guess my question is if I create, say, after school program, and after school program at U Park, and I have just all the information for the after school program, and then we're going to encourage the parents to sign them up, or the after school program director, whoever, to sign them up by individual name, or we could also do the group reporting side where we just have the group information. Is that right? How that little box that I saw, is that correct in what I'm assuming it means?
Okay, so there's a couple different things with groups. Groups are a broader participation category. If it's something that you're doing programming in, and let's say the participants are actually completing or will they be completing a 4-H project in that group? Okay, so technically that group can be a club. So you're right, you can set that group in as a piece that members would log into, or when they're doing their enrollment, they can join in and do their participation that way. If you have, and doing that way, that captures them basically as an organized group within 4-H. You're not creating any duplications where ES 237 is concerned, that type of thing. Okay, now what district are you in? Military installation.
Military. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so what area are you working in then? Are you kind of everywhere, or?
I have the whole state, yeah.
Okay, so you set the groups up at the state level?
I actually log in at, what do I log in at, Lisa? State?
Let me check. I think you are in the state manager, yes.
Okay, all right. So let me check your guys' groups here. Okay.
So I think what Lisa and I kind of worked out was like, so I have 3 of my installations are in, well, 2 are in the Fairbanks North Star area. 1 is East Fairbanks, but they're associated with the Fairbanks North Star. And then I have an installation in Anchorage that's associated, that's J-Bear, associated with the Anchorage district.
Okay.
So we're going to associate them.
All right. That makes sense. And let me just get logged in here. Now, do you have a separate login for the demo there, Lisa?
Yes, in the district, it's under training.
Okay. All right. So for those that are calling in, I will do my best to explain this. If you're or you guys should all be able to see the computer screen, correct? Even if you did call in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll try to be very descriptive in the instructions too, just in case if somebody's having video issues. But so, Candy, all right, let me get lined out here. So what Candy was talking about on your dashboard is called, if you're on the enrollment tab, and go to the groups icon, you will have a listing of groups, and it's very easy to add groups at, well, I'm used to calling it county, but within your districts, you can add groups, and they're a way to organize your 4-H participants. Now, this is different than a 4-H club. In this type of a program, these are, you're taking into account your different delivery modes. And Candy, I will get confirmation on that. I think we'll track participants that way. I need to get clarification for you guys as to whether or not you need to follow that up with a group enrollment, because I do know when you get into that group enrollment portion, you are making a connection to a group. So that might be the bridge. But I can follow up with you on that. But what you're going to see here is at the level, you have county level camps, and then you also have your state level camps. So then when you go to, and this is an active participant, when they're going through that process of enrolling, and so I got youth record, okay, so it's doing its thing. Where you make that link as far as your participants into those groups is as they're enrolling, or as a manager when you're doing their review of their record. Let's say they've submitted their enrollment, they didn't add that in there. So you have clubs, projects, activities, awards, and groups. So from your drop-down list, depending the timing of the enrollment and your creation of that group, they may have that opportunity to select that from here on out if you haven't created it, but they would be able to select this. So if they know that the title is Gardening Club, then they just select that, and then they're in there. And then as a county man, so that's one way working through it from the individual record side. If you're doing it like, let's say you're on the phone with that person, or let's say you took a paper enrollment. If you are working at it, let's say you're just doing, X amount of group of people have missed it. Another way to work through this is if you go on the enrollment tab, search icon, you'll see all of these different tabs. A lot of your primary use in this area is going to be searching for member and volunteer records, but if you click over to groups, then you can sort or filter it out, and right here is your state gardening club. You want to keep it within the current year, and you don't have any records, but a handy way to do this, if you have a group of people that are missing, if you search for their name, you can add a flag. And then you can, once you've got them flagged, and I went back into the search icon, members, volunteers tab, add flagged to group. So this gives you an ability to do a bulk entry. If you have trainings that you set up or activities, it's the same steps. So you flag them first. And if you do click add to group, then you just click the group name. And then if you click the add members to group piece, then all of those names will be added into there. I'm not going to do that because that will add to your data set and you don't want them in there, but that's a very easy way to do that. And then once you're done with your flagging, on your flagging options, you can clear your flags. So let's say if you have enrollments at the county level, and if they're pending, active, whatever status, you can add everybody into that group, or you can add everybody into activity, if that makes sense. Does that help with your question, Candy?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great.
Yeah, I guess the after school clubs, some of them I call, well, some of them are actually school enrichment.
Okay.
We're doing an enrichment. And we're going in and helping, and then, so yeah, all these different things. So yeah, that's great. Awesome. I love it.
One thing to keep note of, if you do have the school enrichment, you should have, you'll definitely want to make that delineation on your delivery mode. But that will get you guys set up, right? So where I did that, to set your groups up, if you enrollment tab again, group icon, in this little gray bar, and as you work through different screens or different icons in 4-H Online, they put a lot of stuff in this little gray bar, or if you're doing custom reports, it's going to be a blue bar. But you just simply click on add group, and then you can, any of the fields in bold, those are required fields. Those tend to be a little tedious, but you can select your delivery mode, your contact information, meeting place. There are a couple manager settings. If you check the box, allow members to register in the group, that's where you're going to get that to show up as an option for members to register for that. If you are working on an administrative type group, so for example, in Idaho, we have to keep track of University of Idaho and county employees as far as getting them invites for verified volunteers and some more of those administrative type groups. So then I would uncheck that box and I would check this box, do not allow members to register for this group or see that. So it will be just viewed at my level. So there's a couple different options there. And you can allow, if it's something where you're going to be working with people, volunteers on, you can allow managers to assign members to groups and groups enrollment. So then this, you may not see this. Well, actually, you should see this when you set up your groups. So I know sometimes I catch myself if I've set up an event at a state level, there's going to be different functionalities to it. The state level versus what you would see at a district or a county level. So but I hope that helps on that. One thing I did notice, like when we are initially taking enrollments in Idaho, you definitely want to ask if families are calling you and saying, I'm having issues doing this, or this isn't working. There's a couple questions I do ask, and one of the first questions is what browser are you using? And they'll go, well, I'm just going to use what's in the computer. 4-H Online is not supporting, and when they mean that not supporting the interfacing with Internet Explorer, that's big. That means don't use Internet Explorer, and that will become your first default question. And when you're helping each other out with questions as far as running reports and stuff, in the building of the report or in the processing the reports, Internet Explorer creates all sorts of havoc. Your custom fields won't show up. There's a lot of different issues. So just kind of being very consistent in that reminder of you need to use Internet, or you need to, see, I'm in the habit. You need to use Firefox, you need to use Chrome. If they are using a Mac, they can use Safari. Another browser that I've used that works very well, there is a Firefox version for Macs, but I've also used Mercury, which is similar to Firefox. If they're working and doing a lot of work on Flash-enabled sites, you might have some success using Photon. So those are a couple different options for Mac users, but for the most part, you shouldn't have any issues with Safari or using Firefox on Macs. But that's going to be your first question, and then we have a lot of information, and it looks like you guys have a lot of information on those initial questions. By the time you get code of conduct knocked out, health information, it's a lot. So I do ask folks what format they're using. I have had people try to do their enrollments on their phone. That doesn't work so well, and especially on the initial setup. Once they get their enrollments done and in, that's one thing, but when you're trying to do your authorizations and there's a lot of check boxes, that can be a little bit much, and you may or may not have folks getting timed out, that type of thing. So on these initial setup of the enrollments, be it for a member or volunteer, those are going to be two of your common questions. What form of technology were you using when you did your setup, and what internet browser were you using? But were there any other kind of issues or questions? Were you getting a lot of responses first week, or are people still kind of just not quite ready for 4-H? It seemed like in Idaho, well, we just had a county fair finish at the first week of October, so that gets interesting for them. They're the very last week, and we're already kicking over new things. So poor Julia, she kind of tears her hair out sometimes. She's like, you guys just can't wait to roll over. Like, we'll see. But we have some state events that kind of back up to that date too. So, I don't know.
I have some questions, Erica.
All right.
Okay, so I was really naughty, and I did not join the group for a long time
Okay.
because I figured my admin assistant would be the one who would be handling this. I shouldn't have to do it all, and she's doing a wonderful job. However, I have people who are asking me questions, and I look like an idiot. So I'm trying to do catch up real quick.
Okay.
Can a person, I have a few kids up here who multiple club enroll.
Mm-hmm.
Can you multiple club enroll in this program, or do you just get to choose one club and that's it?
You can do what we call dual county enrollment. If it's more than that, that's going to get a little difficult. So to answer your question, though, yes. And I guess, is that set up, Lisa? Do you know?
Yes, and Marla, are you asking if one student can have like 2 or 3 different clubs, or are you wanting? Yeah, that's set up so they would have to choose a primary club, but then they also can enroll in other clubs. We have, for instance, we have an umbrella club, and then also people are enrolled in like not an umbrella, but so like the North Road Rangers, and then they also are enrolled in JML. So they're enrolled in 2 different clubs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your question?
So, yeah, and I guess touching on what Lisa said. So in the county level, absolutely. Our structure is we have an organizational club. So that would be where the lion's share of your club officer work, your fundraising would happen, and then you have projects. And you have projects, and they all have their different clubs. We also have another option on that when you think about bigger picture, broader meaning of multiple participation. So we have the option of doing multiple clubs within the county, but then we also have what we call dual county participants. So depending on where they live, they may be at a border county where they take a club or a project in X county, but not like their organizational club. So where they live is their organizational club and other projects. So there's a couple different options to that. But were you thinking more local? We have organizational club and project clubs? Okay.
It's a local, like I have one kid, she's no longer in the program, but I'll use her, prime example. She did a horse club, she did a KV club, she did a sewing club, she did the teen club, and she did another one. She was in 5 clubs at one time.
Okay, yeah.
In our district.
Let me do a screen share and I can show you kind of where you'd be looking at. Was she in the system last year?
No, she graduated 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. Okay. Well, we'll look at a 4-H family here. Let me share my screen again, and that can kind of show you what you'll be looking for. So,
And Erica, we are set up for the dual county enrollment.
2. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
So, you're gonna get a phone call, Marla, and you're gonna go, okay, da 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 da. Searching for member or volunteer name is going to be your friend. That's going to probably be your primary thing. When you search for a specific person's name, or after you do a customized search, you're going to want to make sure you clear out your filters, but you can whittle it down to their name. And if you know you're looking specifically for a kid or for an adult or a youth record, you can check those boxes. As enrollments are coming in, you're going to probably want to check active in the pending or even the inactives, because that'll whittle down your data set. So let's say you find who you're looking for, and you're going to click log in. And so what will happen is when you log into that person's record, where you're going to want to look at is participation. And they're going to say, you know, I was able to see all my projects for the 4-H Mushers Club, but this other club isn't showing up. So that's going to be one of your initial enrollment troubleshooting questions is, okay, Is there another club that you're missing as far as your organizational club or primary clubs? And then projects, this next tab over is where you get into the meat and potatoes of building your enrollment. So depending on the club, if it's not a primary club, then they're going to need to add that. So I'm going to add Flashy Ponies. And then, so if they have lots of other clubs, then they need to make sure they're in there. The primary is going to be their organizational club. And then whatever is populating on this projects list is going to be contingent on what shows up on, or what they have selected for clubs. So we're going to select Flashy Ponies. And if you run into this, then this is going to be a next step to kind of troubleshooting thing we need to do, which kind of touches on an email or emails that Lisa and I worked on last week. But if the projects are in there, then you'd have your project. It would be their first year, you know, whatever year in 4-H they are. You add that in there and you're set to go. So to answer your question though, yes. And the big piece is making sure that the clubs are set up and making sure the projects are linked to the clubs. So let me show you where those pieces are.
Before you leave that screen, you've got, oh, you left it. You said years in 4-H, but that said years in project. So is that supposed to be years in project or the years in 4-H on that screen?
Years in the project.
Okay.
I misspoke on that.
So they could have been in the project or in 4-H for 5 years, but now they're doing horse, so.
Then that would be their first year in the project.
First year in horse.
Yeah.
But in the long run, when I get ready to run to figure out pins that they need, I can do a search to figure out how many years they've been in 4-H.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do years in 4-H, and then if you do pins for a specific project, you can do those through your custom reports. You can go by years in 4-H or years in project. But where you're going to want to look, if you get a question from somebody, it says, you know, I tried adding projects from Fancy or Flashy Ponies. So when you're navigating around in member records, instead of having to back out, back screen, all you have to do is this little lightning bolt in the county. So you'll want to check to see if your clubs are in there, which you have 4-H Mushers and Flashy Ponies. The second piece to that is linking the projects to the clubs. So under the options icon on the dashboard, in this gray bar, we have linked projects to clubs. And so if we go to Flashy Ponies, you're going to see that no projects are checked. So one of the things that Lisa and I did was we did a select all. But some of your clubs or some of your project clubs are going to only have, you know, if it's Flashy Ponies, then I'd venture to guess that this is probably a horse project.
Probably.
So we'll want to make sure that we have that box checked, the horses and ponies. And if you make changes to this screen at all, you have to make sure you hit update. You do have to do that process for every club. Whatever you check will stay. If you do have projects that come through or go off the list at the state level, for those new projects, your districts, you guys will have to reconnect those at the beginning of the year. So that's one of those pieces.
We have to reconnect those every year, the project?
No. Only if there's new ones. Like if there is new curriculum offered, and let's say there's a new category added at the state level, then you'll have to go back through and edit that. But once you set that, it will persist, which means, you know, when you roll over or whatever, from here on out, you're good to go.
Okay. Now I have another question.
Sure.
Because I'm the dummy behind times from everybody. And this
No such thing as a bad question.
This goes along kind of with what Candy asked a little bit ago. I have a school club out in Eagle. Okay. And they do what they call 4-H Fridays, where everybody in the school is a 4-H member. And they enroll as a 4-H club. basically, it's been a lot of work, but the 2 teachers and the secretary out there do an amazing job at getting the paper enrollments together. Now, not everybody out there has access to computers and all that, and so these paper enrollments have really been great for these guys so they can get enrolled as a club. The new principal, or the new secretary, just wrote me 3 hours ago, and she goes, okay, I've got the paper enrollments. What do I do now? I'm new. I don't know what to do. So normally I would just say, mail those in. We got it covered. But now with this 4-H online, my question is the easiest way to solve, because if we tell the families to do it out in Eagle, it's not going to happen. So can that secretary go on and create the club and try and be the parent for all those kids and enter that information in the program as their club?
Yes and no. The catch-22 is, now do you get on the paper copy all of your authorizations and sign-offs for your code of conduct and your health information?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So
what
I'm wondering if she kept those, or if she sent me a copy. If she kept the one and sent me a copy and I had them on file for her, Candy's giving me the thumb up, but let her do all the enrollment as far as online goes.
Yes, she's gonna have to create, she'll want, the easiest way for her to do about this is gonna be several steps. She's gonna wanna make sure she groups her siblings together, because they're gonna have to create a family. And that's the family is the gateway.
So she needs to create a family for each one of those families, and she's gonna be in charge of all those families.
Well, the family record is the gateway into 4-H Online as far as the setup of the family, whether it's for youth, for siblings, children, as well as for adults. And so the last thing would be in the system, then you'd add in those children and you'd repeat that process for all those kids. And the reason why you want to set it up that way is when the time comes where if they are actually going to participate in 4-H on a broader level, those families are already in the system and you're not going to be setting yourself up for a monster, nightmarish amount of duplicate records. When that time comes, you visit with those families, make sure you get a valid email address, and then all you need to do is just reset their password, and whatever email address they provide you, then that goes right to them. So you've already done the legwork as far as setting up their 4-H online record. It kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It allows you to have them in the system. This process will be much easier from here on out because they're already in the system, but that you are going to have some time in getting each of those families and those kiddos set up. But yes, it can be done.
Okay. Well, and the reason I'm going to have her do it, like I said, a lot of we're talking, it's a 16-hour car ride to get to this by dirt road to this village, or a 2-hour plane ride. There's no communications. Half of them don't have computers in their homes. Okay. Half of them don't have internet. You talk to them about email and they're like, what? We don't have email.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be easier if I have that teacher set up as if she is the family and bring those kids in. If God bless them, if they go somewhere else and join 4-H, awesome. We'll make it work, but more than likely, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but for the ones that indicate on that paperwork, if they do have an email address and they can still stay in that pipeline for communications that you send, via your newsletters, that type of thing. But yeah, it's much better doing that way than versus setting up her as the one family and having all those children. Because that would be the easy way to do that, but it's ugly. It's really ugly. I highly recommend taking that time and setting up those families. And that way, if there's correspondence that needs to be sent, then you can build proper mailing labels off of that and they're in there. It just is a little bit of a pain on that end, but we still have a couple of counties that don't have internet at all. or they live out. And so, yes, we still have some doing enrollments through paper. So I totally get that.
Would Marla also have the group option to just set them up as a group and then go that way too?
I mean, if it's just for tracking heads, then that would be the easiest way. But I guess, I mean, you'd have your group.
But they are a 4-H club and they are doing 4-H projects.
Yeah, so they need to be in the system, and then you could create that group, and that would be another way that they're connected into that. So that gives you the individual tracking for those projects for what child did what. And then you have that group connection. Well, technically, that could be a club because they're doing 4-H projects. So you just have to make sure on that club setup that their delivery mode's the right way. So they would have that club, so they wouldn't have to do that group piece. So they're good. If they were not doing 4-H projects, then yes, by far and away, the easiest way to do that would be the group option. More questions?
No, we were having some difficulties of different districts seeing each other. I thought I linked the different, like for Juneau and Sitka and Hunan, there's about 5 of them. But I sent the message to 4-H Online, and Celeste said that they're having to do some programming research and trying to figure that out. So I'm not sure if anyone's going to be asking that question about how they can see the different districts that they're in. So that is in the works, and we're waiting for an answer on that.
I guess it would be on James and Celeste's end on what district, on that district, what's linked to that. Is that what they were saying?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you, in Idaho, how do you guys work with your military installations? How are you enrolling those children?
So the question was, how do we identify and link the military children?
On the installations, so like those at Mountain Home.
Yeah, they're actually doing enrollments, working. We actually have them set up login in Elmore County, and they're having those families come in. Lion's share of them just go right on the computer and enroll themselves. So that's, and then we do, as far as for military families and that, because we do have a lot of reservists in Idaho, we just ask that as a question when they're doing their enrollment. Do you have any family engaged or have served in the military, and then what branch? So, and it seems to be working really well. We got a very strong program in Mountain Home, and that, by doing that and having them in there, that's actually opened up some opportunities and awareness, because we do a lot of event registration on 4-H Online. So once they're in the system, man, that opens a lot of gateways where event registration goes, because you're getting all the consistent information and you know, depending on how the event is set up, whether it's by project or by an age restriction or whatever, it saves a lot of time in that regard.
I had a question. I've gotten several responses, and most of the people haven't paid yet, but 2 did. So when I went in to go ahead and approve them and release them or activate them, I have to go through the entire profile before it'll allow me to activate the member. Is there a way around that?
Yes. Actually, if let me do a screen share again. So the question was, is an easy way to get to where you can activate or approve pending records, right? So if you, instead of clicking screen by screen, if you go right to the far right of county review, you just click on that. It gives you a synopsis of all of the fields that make up your enrollment record. And if you scroll to the, and then you can also see your authorizations. Depending on what you see, you have the option of saying, okay, if there was missing information, you'd say you need to fill this out, whatever, and send it back, or you can just simply click accept. So that where I did that was I clicked login, and then I just jumped right there by clicking county review.
Okay.
And then that way you don't have to, yeah, that saves a lot of time. Unfortunately, yeah, I mean, you would probably do that from your confirmed members, but if you are working through your confirmed members list, you just simply click login, jump to county review, scroll down, and then you can work right through the next one. Oops. And it should take you back to that screen. It may not, but it should.
Okay. And another one, last year, one of the clubs that's out of town sent me everything for one leader and one member, and then later sent me just a list of names and payment for everybody. And so I just made all those names into one group for them, because I think they're an after-school program was now rather than a 4-H club per se. Except I don't know. I don't know. Is that all right?
Was it Kendra?
No. I can't remember there.
Nancy?
Yeah.
Cassie.
It's our school program down in Nenana.
I can't remember the name of the club. It's
Gotcha.
Friends is our 4-H club, but she's doing a school program.
Yeah, okay. So was that okay just to put the school program in as a group? Because I didn't have any other information from them except that they had paid. So
are they doing 4-H projects in it at all, or no?
They are
Marla can explain them.
They're doing robotics and things like that. Just went blank.
But
Gardening.
So it is school enrichment, or is it after?
More of a school enrichment or after school program.
Okay. Yeah, doing it through the group would be fine, and then that'll save a lot of time. Where it gets a little complicated is when they're doing projects, because technically we do need to have that detail. And as things evolve with the use of that, having that set up and taking that time to do it, what I would call the long way, that'll save you time when you get to that point.
Okay.
But yeah, doing it that way is fine. Because you're still going to get you're still getting your information for reporting, and you'll be good. You would probably want to follow that up with the group enrollment form if she sends you a number, if there's any more detail as far as if they do any, day camps with that group or that type of thing, because you can link on your group enrollment form. You can make a connection to that group as far as data. If they have new people to 4-H, that would be taking out the duplicates, because they would be counted. They're already in the system.
To be honest with you now, I didn't really put them in as a true group because it was at the tail end of the year. I mean, like maybe 4 days before achievement night. And she was really late. So I just put them in, not as a group. I use the word group loosely. I put them in as a family with all these names. So it's in there under, I wrote it down. I'm not at my desk, obviously. So
Okay.
we'll try to correct that. Now, getting back to what you were just showing Marla about adding multiple clubs and putting the projects under the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure right now if our clubs are set up with the projects just yet. I went in to try to finish enrolling somebody, and I could not get the non-primary club to pull down any projects. So I'm not sure what people are enrolling for.
Okay. What unit are you in?
What unit?
Tanana.
We're in Tanana District.
Fairbanks North Star.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'll do a screen share and then I can show you where I'm looking and what I'm seeing. Okay, so as far as clubs, I'm on the enrollment tab and go to clubs. These are all your clubs, and then it looks like you've got ATV safety that's inactive. The rest of them are all active. So if they're an active status club, then that means they should show up on members lists. The next piece of that would be linking projects to the club. And we had gone through and did that. Do you remember the member's name or what record you were working in?
No, I don't remember that. That was before I found out that we had to have them do it.
Okay, so is it somebody pretty recent?
Wyatt Foose with the teen club. And Forgetting Out 4-H and his swine project.
No,
Was it him?
no, it wasn't any of those. I think it was one of the ones that paid.
Oh, okay.
So I just accepted it as it was. I can go in and look. I know their names.
Well, this will be showing for this year, so I mean, I would have rolled over, so
Okay.
you know, that one is what it is. But if it's for a new family, then you know, in theory, they should be seeing all the projects, unless there's, you know, if there's a club that needs to be edited as far as what projects are offered,
Okay.
you're gonna probably want to do that. You know, if the 40 Below Musketeers doesn't do all of these projects, then you're gonna want to go through and either uncheck all and select what projects they do, or if it's a lot, then just deselect the ones that they don't do. If that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. And I guess one final question, and then I'll quit hogging you.
Oh no, it's all right.
If somebody sends in all their paperwork but don't have a computer or don't have I didn't quite follow what you were talking to Marla about. If they send everything, all the paperwork, like I think one of our other remote clubs does that. They send in everything and they didn't do it online. Can I enroll them with the information they send me?
Yeah, I mean,
They send all the signed paperwork.
yeah, you're going to need to have them count on your ES 237. You might want to work with those outlying districts to have them get that to you sooner than later. Because if you have a lot of clubs that are large doing that, you're not going to want to be doing that
They're not real large. Like
in
this one
September.
was probably about five members.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. Yeah,
No.
just as long as that's done before you guys roll over. Is your rollover, are you on October 1 to September 30th, or
Yes.
as far as your 4-H year? Okay. Yeah, as long as they're getting that information to you before the end of the year, then that's a good thing. All right. Was there further question? Marla, have further questions or?
She said not yet.
Okay. All right.
She's signing member cards.
Right. So one thing I've been working on is the component called Zendesk, and let me let me get my email here.
Do you want to share yours so they can look at what a finished product would look like?
Sure. I can definitely do that. Okay, so Zendesk will give you guys kind of a web-based option for posting information and different types of things. I have this as a very general thing. I honestly don't know how much traffic it gets because I do have a dedicated website for that. But we can put whatever information would be helpful for you guys as far as if you want a hot link to your login, you can have that. We have a general frequently asked question type thing as far as the 4-H year. Does 4-H online work better with specific browsers? I'm new to 4-H staff. Where do I start? What resource materials are available? So if there's different questions you want posted along those lines, we can do that. It's very dry. We're limited to just text on that, but I can set it up however you want. And if you want support materials, for whatever you guys have, I can actually create another page. At least it's got a hot link and it'll be on the web somewhere where you guys can get it. And so obviously for Alaska, you guys, your color palette would be updated, the logo would be updated, and then whatever content you want on there, broader categories, and then once you link, your subsequent URLs and that type of thing, we can definitely add that for you. Not a problem.
And this would be also linked on our 4-H online, so if a family had a question or was having difficulties, they could put in like a ticket, so to speak. Is that right?
Yeah, and this is like a general FAQ site, and then there would be a link, the mail to at support.zendesk.com. And the reason I set up the ticket system is some days I get upwards of 200 emails in a day. So this makes a ticket, if you will. And when tickets come in, they're flagged by county. They're given an ID number, and then there's metrics that I can do. I can actually add tags to the tickets as far as, is it an enrollment issue? Is it a custom reports issue? It gives me an idea if it's a system issue or if it's an education piece. So you can do a lot of troubleshooting that way, and then you can follow up on your ticket. So it's been very helpful, just to where we can get information out there, and it's consistent. And then the key piece with the support piece, if there's something where it is a systems issue, then I need to bring James and Celeste in on that conversation. So we can get that updated. I'll put out some general questions and make that look a little bit nicer. But if there's things that you would like on there, let me know and we can get that modified for you guys.
That sounds great, and I have a few suggestions or requests, and so I'll get with you, Erica, and give you that information.
Great. So I guess, are there further questions or things that you would like to see, or any questions on reports? You know, I am going to be doing Cafe 42 this Thursday, so that's an online session I do with Idaho folks, and I've opened that up to y'all. I can send Lisa the link to share with everybody, but we do that at, is it at 8? Cafe 42 is at 9. We do that at 8 a.m. Pacific. So, but the sessions are recorded. So what I can do, let me share my screen again. So if you just Google Idaho staff help sheets, I guess is the easiest way to find it. But this is a staff help sheets page for Idaho. But there's a page dedicated to Cafe 42, and I got a chat log and then all of the sessions that we've done to this point. So I started it in April. It's a Q&A kind of similar to this. I do it on Zoom. I kind of go through, and if folks have questions, they just pose their question, we walk through it, and bring up a whole variety of different topics. So if you have time to join, that would be great.
That sounds great. And we'll be able to find the recorded sessions right where on that Idaho staff help sheet.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You want to look for Cafe 42.
Okay.
So, if you guys run into further questions, I'll send Lisa the email for support tickets, and then you know, if there are questions, you can just send an email to her. You know, the tickets will probably be easier just so I can keep track of those, but we can do this. If you want to do another session in a couple weeks, we can do that. Or, you know, we can just kind of play it by ear.
I think we can play it by ear. I guess we can see what everyone else thinks, but I think playing it by ear, sending me some emails. I am going, this Friday is going to be my last day in the office. I'm starting a new job on the 19th, or excuse me, yeah, on the 19th. So of November. So that's, so we, this is one of our ways of introducing Erica as our help person, because she has a lot more knowledge base than I do. So she will be our go-to person.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa, and thank you, everybody. Like I said, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask, and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.